What's up, guys? My name is Charlie. I am a kindergarten teacher here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and this week it is Apple Week. Are you ready for some fun? Okay, so it's Apple Week. My voice is slowly starting to come back so I could start doing my videos again, which I'm excited for. This first one for apples, I don't know how extensive it'll be just because it's kind of like I'm finally getting life together. I've been kind of like struggling mentally, honestly. It's been like a really rough beginning of the year, and not even because the kids are bad, it's just been so many things, but that's for another video, right? But for Apple Week, we've done so many fun Apple things, so I'm gonna take you through all the things that we did Apple. And today is kind of like my favorite day because today we're doing an apple tasting. We're gonna do an apple tasting, and let me show you what we're doing. So for some reason I had a really hard time finding yellow apples. We like recently moved, and the new store by my house just didn't, like, the couple of them didn't have yellow apples. Like, super weird. I should have went to the orchard that's like kind of by my house, but I just didn't have time with our crazy football schedule. So I kind of cheated and found these pink ladies that are really yellow. So I'm cheating just a little bit, but don't tell anyone. I made this, and it's actually like on my TPT, but we have our green apples, and let me just tell you that I printed it all last night because I made it on a whim at like 1 o'clock in the morning because that's just how my brain is, and printed it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna laminate it at school because I have like a laminator at home and then one at school. And do you know, look at this, it crinkled it. I wanted to cry this morning. So, but it was like, I couldn't like not use it. And then I was like, oh, I'll just print one of the blank ones and then color it in. However, my laptop died. And apparently I didn't bring my charger. So that's where we're at right now. So anyways, back to focus. We have our green apples, our yellow apples, and our red apples. Now, you might be asking yourself why there's only a few red apples. Well, that's because, let me bring you over here. We are also making applesauce today. So a bunch of the apples have been sliced and skin is off, and they're chilling in the crock pot. I do 12 apples on high for like 4 hours, and then inside we put half a cup of water, a tablespoon of cinnamon, there we go. I can't talk today. I want to blame it on my voice, but it's just me. So cinnamon, and then we did lemon juice, and I'm forgetting one thing. Lemon juice, cinnamon, water. Maybe that's all the things. Oh, sugar. Sugar was the other one. Brain fart. Can you tell I've just been out of it? Like, this has just been life recently. So yes, in our crock pot, we have 12 apples, cinnamon, lemon juice, sugar, and water. And it's just gonna stay there on high for 3 to 4 hours. So we'll check it. We have prep later, so we'll check it on prep, and let's come back later and see. Okay, so with our apple tasting today, the kids will get a slice of a red apple, they'll get a slice of a yellow apple, and they'll get a slice of a green apple. And they'll get them all on a plate, a blue plate, because that's just what I got. And then of course we're gonna record it. So we'll record it on our recording sheet. It says our favorite apple. It has the red, green, and yellow. It has like the 16 plus, because that was like always one of those things. And then I actually created task cards for our whole group anchor chart that we will do together. So while they're creating this, I will make like a whole group anchor chart. And then this way we'll kind of look at our class data, the data they record, and then they're gonna get to do like their own writing prompt on their favorite apple today. So all the apple things. Let's check on it. Oh, it's going. Ooh, look at the heat. Okay, the kids are on special, so I can update you. We did our apple tasting. So we had red, yellow, and green apples. They thought it was such a kick. We did like a little buffet line for them to like go through and pick one of each. So right now on the carpet, before they went to specials, we talked about what a graph is. So last year when I looked at my MAPS data, one of the areas that we were lowest is like measurement and data, and graphing was like our killer. And it was like the last unit that we did at the end of the year. But this year I kind of want to do my best to do a graph a week based off of whatever theme we're kind of doing. So seeing that we did apples this week, I made this graph for us. So this is in my TPT I had mentioned earlier, and I'm gonna kind of just keep adding to it. Like I'll do like a weekly one, and then I'll do like a bundle just so that like I can keep adding to it as I make them for my class. So you're welcome to like either or. But we did my favorite apple, and then at the bottom so far I have like red, yellow, and green. So I'll update you guys later today. But how I did this is I had each color table bring their color bucket to the carpet. They brought their whiteboard, and they were each given, this is like in the pack too. So it has an apple from the color, their favorite apple that we tried. And then it has the graph with it. So each team is working from the carpet, because then if you could see like our layout, I'm like right up here in the front at this board with like the whole group anchor chart, and then they're right here. So the plan is I will call one student up at a time. They will use a complete sentence to tell us their favorite apple. They will put it up on our group chart, and then we will fill it in on their chart. So that's the goal. Hopefully it's our first graph, so hopefully it goes well. I'll let you know. And let's check on our applesauce. It always makes me nervous when we cook things. Whoa. Oh man, it's going. Let me mix it real quick. Okay, so, oh man, the apples are starting to get like really soft. Let's see, we started 10:30 and it's almost 2 hours in. It's like an hour and a half in, so they're already starting to get really soft. I like wish it was like, I just want to try it. I feel like I might have put too much water, but maybe not, I don't know. It smells really good though, but I want to add a little more sugar. I'm gonna add more sugar. I had picked like a couple kiddos to help me put the stuff in. Those good listeners. I feel like a little bit of extra sugar can't hurt, right? Who loves sugar? I love sugar. Okay. And maybe just like a dash of cinnamon. Okay, I'm gonna show you what this looks like. Now, am I crazy for this? Does anyone else cook in their classroom? Okay, let me show you. Let me turn this around so you can see. Okay, so you can see I added more sugar. This is like my crock pot that, it's not like my best one. It's my bring to school crock pot, so I'm hoping that it does the job. But they're already starting to get like soft, so hopefully. Does this look like too much water to you guys? I don't know. I only do this once a year, so I forget. It's happening. All right, let's count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Put it in your mouth. Felix, put it in your mouth.
So yummy. You guys are good cooks, friends. What color apple do you like, my friend?
Green.
Ooh.
Another green. Green is on a roll today.
Green is on a roll. Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
No way.
So many friends.
No way.
It's after school. Now, my kids taste tested it and thought it was delicious. So now, Josh, my son here, is gonna be our taste tester. All right, show us what you got. He's the real critic. Good? Was it good? Passed your test? Passed the test? Taste test?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Do you hear that? 10 out of 10. I survived Friday. Yes. And I have to tell you guys, okay, going into the applesauce, I was so excited for the kids. In the middle of it, I was like, oh, fuck, did I do this right? And then it's weird because it's like I do it every year, or I try to, right? But I only make it once a year, which I'm like, I kind of like, I need to do it with my own kids, y'all, is what I need to do. But like in the middle of it, I was like, is this what it's supposed to look like? Totally forgot, didn't know. I just kind of like, I almost took out some of the water because it looked like there was so much water in it. And thank goodness I didn't, because it ended up eating it, right? It came out fantastic. Like, it tastes so good that I'm like, I'm the next Mott's lady, y'all, straight up. Fantastic. The kids thought it was delicious, which was the best part, because the last thing I needed was 25-year-olds going home and telling their parents that my sugar can't cook. That's what I don't need in my life, right? And then I kept trying to tell them throughout the day how, like, well, they helped me like put in the mixings and all that stuff, so I kept trying to tell them throughout the day how they were making it with me, so it wasn't like, if it did suck, it wasn't just me taking the L. But yes, our apple tasting was fantastic. Our applesauce making was so good too. And let me go and show you what the rest of our chart looked like now that it was all done and it's the end of the day. Okay, so I covered the title of it, but it was my favorite apple. I really need to get that. I don't know what stuff people use to make it to where the lamination is not all glossy like that when it's on film, but I need to get that stuff. So this was their chart that they followed, and I know I had shown you guys earlier how they were on the carpet doing their thing. And then we recorded it up here. So we had red, yellow, and green. And then I was actually really surprised that as many of them liked the yellow and the green ones. Like, shocked. I didn't think, like, last year it was so lopsided. We had so many kids for the red and not that many for green or yellow. So when I made this, that's why I had put 16 plus, because I literally, last year I started the year with 35 kids. So at the beginning of the year, I literally had over 20 kids that wanted red. So this year, like, I didn't need that much, but it ended up working out fantastic. And then I had also created some task cards, because I think I had mentioned earlier how last year I was really worried about our measurement and graphing, so that's why I had wanted to do this, and I want to try to start doing one each week. But it wasn't even just so much the exposure to the measurement and graphing, but it was more so the vocabulary that goes with it, like greater than and less than, more, least, fewer. And then what kills us every single time on our testing is the how many more. So I had task cards, and with the task cards, I kind of would just like read one off, and then we would kind of answer the question like out loud. So later on in the year, I will have the questions on the chart or paper to where they can like apply it and figure it out themselves. But for right now, I think this whole first semester, I'm going to do it completely off of whatever task cards I make, and we'll just kind of get them used to the vocabulary, expose them to it, and then I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that that will help them be more successful this year in that category. What do you think? Does anyone have tips or tricks for when it comes to like measurement and the graphing? Is it just the exposure? I'm like, maybe it's how I'm doing it. I don't know, but we'll figure that part out. So we'll try this. I'm putting a lot of effort. I don't want to say a lot. I'm putting more effort. That's better. But yes, it was fantastic today. I hope you liked our apple stuff today. Stay tuned for more. Okay, you guys, I'm totally not gonna lie to you. I'm absolutely working backwards in this video because the last 2 weeks I had my house flooded, which I'd mentioned before, and so I had no voice. So today is like, okay, I had recorded Friday for you guys and showed you like everything we did with the apple tasting and all that stuff, but that was like the first day you could even like pretty much understand what I was saying. And so today I'm finally still like you could still hear it a little bit, the hoarseness, but for the most part, you could understand me now. So I apologize. This will be the only video that I'm kind of like working backwards. But I did want to show you the rest of the Apple Week and not just that fun part. But to open it, oh, if you could see, we had made these apples the one day. It's one of my favorite activities to do because if you are ever in need of like an activity that will take them forever while you pull kids to test, it's like the perfect one. Let me give you an up close. It was just an apple template that I got from the Tara West Kinder Literacy that went with her Apple unit. And so it was just like a plain apple. And then I just gave each one of my tables, you could see like my stuff is separated by color table. I gave each table a different color that they were in charge of for the apples. So I did majority red, so 2 tables were red, and then there was a yellow table and a green table. And they just ripped apart the construction paper, and then after they had ripped it all up, then they were able to glue it onto their apples. Excellent fine motor activity, especially if you are having some of those kids that are just having a hard time with that stuff at the beginning of the year. So even though we're like already into curriculum, we do have those kiddos that are like still struggling with some of those skills. So that's like a great way to like still reinforce what we're talking about, but at the same time reinforce the things that they should have already came with too. Which brings me to our next area of labeling. So the week before we started our Apple unit, we talked about labeling, and it was like the perfect kind of shoe in the door to talk about apples, because with apples there's like labeling parts of an apple, labeling what else did we do, like the life cycle. So I felt it was important to kind of talk about labeling first. So like the week before, we did all our initial labeling stuff. So this is in my TPT. It was like a quick anchor chart that I had just made, and it says, what is a label? A label gives the reader information about a picture, and then we kind of labeled the girl. And then I had made activities to go with it as well, and that was like what we did last week for labeling. So then when it came to this week, one of the first days we did the apple life cycle. So this is all part of like my Apple unit, and I created this. It goes from seed to sprout to sapling to tree to flower to fruit. And I had also made like a bunch of these like vocabulary cards. So we had kind of already talked about some of them, and then I was able to like reinforce it during our talk through the life cycle. And then all the students had a follow-up activity that they did themselves on paper. So when I did labeling the first week, usually every other year in the past when I've introduced labeling, I'll do like a week or two of beginning sound, a week or two of final sound, and then a week or two of middle sound, right? And like the rest of the sounds that we hear. However, my class this year was so solid that we already like kind of went full swing into the week before we did beginning and final sound, and then we kind of started listening to all the sounds that we hear. So that is why I did it this way. So the day that we did the whole group anchor chart, I did it to where I didn't write the words. I kind of would show them. We did the pictures first of the life cycle, and then I would show them a vocabulary card, and we would look at the beginning and middle and end sound to kind of figure out which one we thought it would fit. And I thought that was like a good way for them to make that connection between the sounds and what the words represent. And then on their portion, one of the days we did it to where we wrote out the sounds that we heard. And then the next day they had to go through and kind of match it themselves. And that time they did it by themselves, and they did it for really good. So that was like our Apple life cycle, which was like a lot of fun. And let me show you a picture of what the life cycle itself looked like that they did. Okay, so we also talked about parts of an apple, and we made these so cute. This was something one of my fellow kinder teachers had, so I honestly had just used theirs. I had planned on making my own, but it was kind of like it was already done and copied for me, so you know how that goes. But next year I will update like my pack to where then it includes something like that too. But it did have like everything that I already needed, so it was a one-stop shop. I am like such a fan though of making sure we have like all the literacy and I like showed you my vocabulary cards, but reading is like a big thing for me. I love reading to them. I think it's important for them to learn how to listen to a story. I feel like it helps with listening skills, comprehension skills. Like we kind of facilitate how they comprehend stories, but I love reading. So we have a bunch of different titles that we looked at all throughout this week. So this week with Apples, my main focus in reading was fiction and nonfiction. So I introduced fiction versus nonfiction. We talked all about it. We made anchor charts for fiction and nonfiction. And then we looked at all different Apple stories that were both fiction and nonfiction. And we even had talked about how some of them are realistic fiction. So even though it has illustrations that are drawn, it does has realistic components to it. So my class this year is very intelligent, I will say. So I was able to like already talk about those things, which was like really exciting. So these, I love books. These were like all of my Apple books. So you can see my students have access to my library. That is, let me get closer. Sorry, I have no idea why my anchor chart was in the middle of the room, but the kiddos have access to like my library that is completely sorted by theme, right? School books, numbers, alphabet, nutrition, certain characters, all the things. So they have access to those every time we go to reading centers, but they also have access to our theme books over here. So when they are in library, they could pull either from our theme books or from somewhere in our library, and they're welcome to read either. I love doing the themes and like having the theme books available because I feel like I always get them really dedicated to whatever it is we're learning, but like I get them excited about it through having a main focus and then them having resources that they could kind of look at themselves and extend their own knowledge of it. I feel like kids being able to like go through the pictures, even my lowest ones, they're able to like build connections off of like just looking at pictures and seeing how they relate to it to themselves. So I think that's like one thing that I'm very strong in, is getting everybody bought into whatever we're doing, but it's because they're provided those resources to be able to do so. But that was Apple Week. I know it was very short, simple, and sweet, but I promise we'll get more extensive as we go on. Let me know if there's anything you did in your Apple Week that was really fun and that we could add for next year. But till next time. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Hero on Heels.